Time for what?
Time for what?
Experience in college.
Time for reinforcement.
Time for liftoff!
Where nothing is impossible unless you think it is impossible.
College.
I have my college scholarship.
Yes. Boom.
College ran by real fast.
You hung in with the best college.
First time for everything.
Well, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Let's do this thing.
Genius. Let's do this thing.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Well, you know, we gave you some suspense last time because Isabel went to visit another state, another college. So if you're busy working, just dealing with life, well, we get a great opportunity to listen about Isabel's experience visiting colleges in Colorado. Welcome back, Isabel.
Hi.
Hi. So tell us what in Colorado.
So, yeah, I recently went to Colorado, and I toured two colleges there, Colorado Springs and then University of Colorado at Fort Collins. And both were actually amazing schools. I love the schools a lot, but they were so different.
So what was the one that you want to highlight first for everybody?
So the first one, my favorite, was University of Colorado at Fort Collins. I liked that because it was such a big school, and the campus was beautiful, and they had a stadium, and they had so many opportunities, and it was so great to do an actual tour because I got so much information about the school and all of their programs and opportunities that are open to me, and I just love that school so much.
And now let's just say if someone listening to the podcast, or let's say it's a parent or guardian, and it's like, oh, well, I know that it's great for Isabel, but I don't know for my kid. So what is something, like what's a salad? Like what's all these different ingredients, different highlights about the campus that makes it that's unique, that variety of people would really love about this college?
There's like a lot of like social life, like campus life going on. They have football games, and if that's not your speed, then it's definitely like a bigger school. The numbers are pretty high compared to the other school that I toured. So, yeah, and it's big on community and all of that. And that's what I really liked about it.
Okay, so you already sense there's a lot of community, even though it's the summer. So how did you know there was all this community on campus?
So, yeah, when I was there, the campus was actually full of people, and that was the first thing. I was like, oh, that's so cool. There were people practicing sports. There were people using the rec center. There were students all over campus, families and kids like participating in summer camps on the campus. And it was just full of life. And that's what I really like to see. It was not a ghost town like previously when I visited Santa Cruz. There was nobody there. And that was really discouraging. But the fact that there were so many people at that school, even in the summer, I just knew that was like, it was a community-based school.
Yeah, a lot of times students miss out on that social, emotional part. Like even rankings that are out there, it's like, okay, academic programs and yeah, like getting a job. But, a happy person is a happy person, and who could get a job is great. Now, what about the area, the surrounding area for someone who's never been out there?
Yeah, I love the surroundings of the school. Fort Collins is actually a really cool place. Right next to the campus is like this whole street full of like restaurants and like places to eat and hang out. And just like the general area of like Colorado, I think is just super beautiful.
So Colorado State University, it is eclectic. It is energized. I mean, I think both Isabel and I have mentioned that a couple of times. And also the academic programs are amazing. I've seen students who have turned down so many other schools that maybe a little bit more popular, higher on the ranking list. And they're like, thank God I went to Colorado State. Or I've had students like, you know what, I know I work hard, but I really want to get a chance to do a lot of research. Did you know that the school spends $407 million in research?
I had no idea.
That's one of the things is, so even visiting a campus, there's always so much to learn about a school. So yeah, there is a little bit of something that is out there for everyone at Colorado State University. So now you did visit another campus. What campus was that?
I did. I visited University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, and that one was super different because mostly it was like the size, the way the campus was laid out was really small. But I really liked it because we went in classrooms and we like talked about how small the class sizes are and how personal it is. Like you really get to know your professor and the faculty.
Did they mention to you like how big a freshman class may be on campus?
I know that they did tell us, and I do not remember the numbers.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. But it seemed like pretty intimate and everything. And what are some of the highlights that you would say that's really unique about this campus for our audience, regardless if you're into sports or into research or into I don't know yet.
So this campus, when I visited, the things that stood out to me were the classroom sizes and basically everything being so close together. There wasn't a lot of information specifically about each kind of education field. We learned a lot about technology and engineering pathways, and it seems to be a really big deal there. That definitely stood out to me. And another thing that really stood out that I liked about the campus were the way that the dorms were situated. All the dorms were right next to each other and across connected by hallways. And there was just a whole section of the campus where all the dorms were, which was different. I'm comparing this to all the other universities I visited. And the other campuses that I went to, some of the dorms were a walk across campus away from each other, and I thought that was cool that the Colorado colleges were so close together.
Now, was it easy to find the differences between to each building? For me, and it just maybe just me, the University of Colorado colleges. Sometimes when I've been on those campuses, I feel like the buildings are all the same. They're all beautiful. I mean, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they seem like there's a template. Was it easy to distinguish between them?
For me, I had an easy time figuring out where I was on campus, just because the way the campus is laid out was kind of it's a long stretch instead of all being centered around one thing Colorado State was. And it was actually easy for me. I mean, I didn't think the buildings looked too similar. They're actually really beautiful. And I could pretty much tell the difference between everything. I knew where I was on campus.
No, that's one thing is University of Colorado, they get those buildings right. No, it's nice. And then the mountain terrain in the background is so beautiful. Now, you mentioned that they didn't mention too much about majors, and we won't go dive into, but yes, they definitely do have engineering. But they also have a College of Business, folks, a College of Education. Yes, of course, the very typical College of Letters, Arts and Science, very important. School of Public Affairs, Nursing and Health. But remember, college has a lot of other majors in there, like I mentioned last show, sports management. So something to really check out. And what about Colorado Springs, the city itself?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to explore much around Colorado Springs, but judging by just the view from the campus surrounding us, we could see the Garden of the Gods, which is a really popular destination to go to, and that was just right across the way. We could see the mountains, everything surrounded by mountains. It was beautiful. But no, I didn't get a chance to go into the city and see what the life was around there, but I did see Fort Collins.
Now, one of the things is, I believe in Colorado Springs, did it feel more remote than Fort Collins? For those listeners who are looking just for Colorado schools, what did it seem more of a college town or not between those two campuses?
Yeah, so Colorado Springs definitely didn't seem as much of a college town as Colorado State was, mostly because I feel like it was really separated from most of the city life. It's definitely more rural around there. When compared to Colorado State. But both of them, I really did love how all of the mountains surrounding Colorado or University of Colorado, but then at Fort Collins, they had Horsetooth Reservoir just a 10-minute drive away, which is another recreation place with a lake, water, places to hike. And that's what I'm really looking for when I was looking at the colleges.
So sum it up, both of these campuses are nice and big, tons of opportunities, tons of social opportunities as well. Nature is close by, but Colorado Springs, you will feel less of the city life versus Colorado State, which is in Fort Collins. So if you want a mixture of both, Colorado State has that good balance. Colorado Springs, it's more its own entity and more of nature. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Let's talk about next steps. So whether you visited a campus in person, lucky, or like we talked at our last podcast about doing virtual visits, there's something that's really important. We've kind of hinted a lot is follow-up. So I know you literally just got back. So what follow-ups are you planning or hoping to do now that you've visited some campuses?
I'm hoping to reach out to the rep for those campuses, hopefully. I'm hoping to do a little more research, maybe just do the extra step and see if they really have what I'm looking for in majors, because I know Colorado Springs did, but I need to do a double check on Fort Collins. I just kind of want to look more in depth of the school and what they offer and see if it's what I'm looking for.
No, and that's really important. So one of the ways, Isabel, for you and our listeners to do is getting on the college's mailing list. Literally, you could go Colorado State University mailing list. Now, if you're like Isabel who visited the campus already, she's pretty much kind of on the mailing list because she signed up and registered. Someplace if you sign up for the virtual visit. But if you're like, God, but I'm working and stuff, just get on that mailing list. But be prepared. Isabel, did you get a lot of emails from some of your campuses already?
I have been getting emails nonstop, and I still need to go through my email and delete some of them.
Yeah, so for the colleges that are lucky enough to that you want, so Isabel, and for our listeners, keep them on. But remember, if you haven't started the process, think what type of organizer are you? If you want to have one email with all your school stuff, personal and college stuff, go for it. But you got to get on top of it. Like, it can't go above double digits for how many are in your inbox. But if you're like, oh, I'd like to keep school and my personal separate, well, go ahead and create, an email for yourself. You want to say, collegepodcast@gmail. It's not mine. Go ahead and do that. That's fine. Just make sure it's appropriate. Create a college email because you will get a lot. And it's kind of sometimes hard to unsubscribe. It's possible, but unsubscribe. So if let's just pretend already that you did your information. So, Isabel, have you done mailing list yet?
I have gotten on the mailing list for a few schools before, but I don't, because I signed up for the tours, like you said, I'm probably on the ones for Colorado, but there's a few schools that I'm interested in that I have not gotten the mailing list for.
Yeah, and I think it's important when you do, right? Like, they'll ask you for activities, majors. Click on those boxes so hopefully they can send you more information. Sometimes they'll have special sessions. But guys, if you're really interested in the campus, you got to be on top of those emails. But did you know, Isabel, you can email your questions to the campuses directly?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so one of the things is that a lot of students don't realize, just everything in life, it's about relationships. And these colleges want to have a relationship, kind of almost like a dating game, unfortunately, right? It's like, hey, are you a good fit for me? And if I'm a good fit for you. So every campus has their college rep. So everybody, if you have a computer in front of you, if you literally, typed in, and on the campus, so let's just we talked about Colorado State. So we put Colorado State college rep undergraduate admission. Now, for those of you don't know, undergraduate's for your bachelor's degree. Once you have a bachelor's degree, then there's graduate school, right? So you want to do undergraduate. And guess what, Isabel? What was the first thing you think that came into my search?
For
Colorado State University. Not the person. Do you think I literally just typed in Colorado State College, which is not the full name. It's Colorado State University. So it's okay if you make human error. And I put college rep, keyword rep, REP, undergraduate admissions. Do you think the first line my search engine came up with the link? What do you think? Yes or no? Just guessing.
Yes.
Yeah, it did. Believe it or not. So so literally, a lot of times students just tend not to know it's that easy. They want colleges to find you, but sometimes it's harder to find it through their own search. I mean, usually you go to admissions, you have to click. So here, remember, even if you're a transfer student, you can click on transfer. But for all our seniors out there, you click on freshman, and then you just look at what state. So like here, if we go and look, I would go look in what state my student is looking at, and then there will be a name of a person, right? So like, for example, Megan Miller does all the recruitment for Colorado Springs, right? If we want to look at and do they do out of state? Yes. So if you're Northern California, it's Justin Smalley, Elise Goodman, and you just click on their names. Now you see the person and you go, hey, I am a student, I am a parents email financial aids on admissions, and then just ask questions. So let's just pretend you're on here right now, Isabel. Let's say it is a school that you recently visited. What would you ask, or what would you say? What would you communicate? Do you know?
All I know is that I would ask a lot of questions about what they offer in kind of like the criminal justice, criminal studies pathway, and if that's like a place where I would want to be because that's what I want to study.
Perfect, right? And then also, if you visit the campus, I mean, I could hear the joy in your voice at Colorado State. What a great visit that was for you, which I'm so happy about. Let them know that, the campus and stuff. So, and I'm going to give, and so pull out your pencils, pull out your cell phones. This is actually from a college website, Babson, which is an amazing business school program in Massachusetts. And their college